Hi, I'm here today to talk to you about the final Star Wars film, with Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi. I'm just reviewing the original film, that is up to the DVD edition, and I'm not including the Blu-ray edition, which has got a number of changes in. We'll cover that in another review later on. So, overall, what do I think of the film? I think it's a good film. I think it comes in about third overall, behind behind Revenge of the Sith and behind The Empire Strikes Back. Now, the reasons for that, in terms of the good, it starts off good. Actually, the first lot of the film is all very, very good, right up to past the battle with Jabba the Hutt, past the initial where the Emperor arrives at the Death Star. That's all really encouraging. It goes downhill when we land on Endor. Not just the Ewoks, although that has to be said, that is a really big factor. As a kid, the Ewoks never bothered me. I remember watching the animated series and the live action film, so the actual Ewoks themselves as a kid didn't bother me. Now they do. And you kind of want to say, okay, how can a bunch of fuzzy little bears beat the Empire's elite? It would never happen. I mean, come on, it's just not going to happen. And how come, back in Revenge of the Sith, the Stormtroopers all had camo gear, but you get to Return of the Jedi, nothing whatsoever, just white armour. Now, perhaps there is meant to be a message there, other than George Lucas made a mistake, or Richard Marquand, perhaps in this case, made a mistake, in that it seems to me as though, particularly with Palpatine, he starts off being really, really manipulative. He buys his time, he sets all these intricate plans in motion to gain power. By Return of the Jedi, he doesn't seem worried about it anymore. It's very much, oh yes, let them come. What are they going to be able to do to me? And it's perhaps the story there. Obviously, he's corrupt to begin with. Perhaps it's more the fact that he's lost his edge. He's so secure in himself that he doesn't possibly perceive anyone could be a threat, and that's where he makes his mistake. And that, of course, is how the Ewoks win. But it's still just ridiculous. The Ewoks are never going to beat them. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. The only thing in that battle scene which is feasible for me is where they take out the AT-SAT walkers with various logs and that. And what happened to that AT-AT? That just disappeared as well. And why would you have a back door into your bunker? You know, I mean, these are questions. I have to admit, they do grate on me. I don't like them, and I don't like that section for it. What I do like a lot is the space battles. As you may know from watching these other ones, I'm a big fan of the models in space. I obviously used to be a model aircraft when I was a kid. I'm sure most people my age did. And they do look really good when you have all the fight scenes going on. I always remember a time when we were first watching this, my brother and myself. This was obviously years and years ago, and we'd been playing X-Wing at the time, and I remember we sat there kind of going, whoa, that's a lot of TIE fighters. And that really just came home, just thinking about that in the games, really thinking how tough it is to face 4 or 5. And now you've got hundreds of the things, plus all those Star Destroyers. And that, for me, is really where the focus should have been a bit more on. Also, the actual confrontation between Luke and Vader and Palpatine is done really well. It's not the best fight ever, but it's a lot of emotion going on there. And the fact that Luke very nearly turns to the dark side is also extremely well done. That's very well. Obviously, I know from watching the extras that Harrison Ford wasn't exactly enamoured with his role in Return of the Jedi. And it's not bad, but yeah, he doesn't have anything near as much to do as he did before. I guess neither does Princess Leia. But on the other hand, it's not really their story. At this point, it's all about the evil of the Emperor and how Vader tries to turn his son and then realises what he's doing and turns against the Emperor, and that's where the focus of the plot is. Perhaps it would have been more realistic for Han and Leia if they hadn't had to contend with the Ewoks. I remember watching an interview a long time ago where Lucas said, wouldn't it have been, he would think about using Wookiees originally. And you think about what that would have been, you think, yeah, that would have been really believable. Now, obviously, you can't have primitive Wookiees and then Chewbacca flying the Falcon, but if there was something similar to that, that would have been quite good. Anyway, so is it a good end to the saga? I think the answer to that is yes. Obviously, if you've read any of the expanded universe, you'll know that some of the books that follow it are way better than any of the films, and that's just using the written word, not using any pictures or anything like that. But I think as a film, it's a good film. It's not as good as some of the other in the Star Wars trilogy, either the original trilogy or the new trilogy, but it is still a good film, and I do enjoy watching it. It's not the best film because of the problems I've already detailed into it. With the changes made to the special editions and the DVD editions, overall, I think they're okay. I'm not entirely sure about the Sarlacc with the mouth within the mouth, but then again, the alien has that, and we don't ever question that. So yeah, I can live with that. I don't have a problem with using Hayden Christensen as Anakin returning back. That's not a problem. I can see the logic behind that, and the fact that only a Jedi can become to the light side of the Force and that, so he goes back when he was a Jedi by turning from the end. And it's quite nice, I would imagine, if you've never seen the original trilogy, because it ties everything together quite nicely. I also think that perhaps that's a slight problem, in that you can't just watch this film in isolation. I'm sure you can't watch any of them in isolation, but particularly this one, because so much of it relates to what happened in the past. It does lose a lot of the impact if you haven't seen those films. Also, with the new trilogy that come out, it gains a lot more as well. You really understand why Vader turns on the Emperor. I think that helps a lot. So yes, I enjoyed the film. Third best out of all the other Star Wars films in my view, and a thoroughly enjoyable film. So I hope you enjoy my review. And next time we'll go over the Blu-ray editions, which have just, well, at the time of writing this, they've been out for about a month. So they've been out for a little while to review those. And then we're on to the 3D films. So we'll see you then.